Transgressive art. We will be looking at the nature of transgressive art, how it has changed over time. We will also be looking at the role transgressive art may play within the world we live in, as well as considering how transgressive art may affect our conceptions of what we see to be beauty. We will also see how transgressive art very much can challenge our conception of morality and push the moral boundaries of society and cause many offence. That transgressive art can be seen to come to the forefront through the Modernism movement, which can be seen as a reaction to greater social changes such as the Industrial Revolution. We see how this art very much challenged the moral and social conventions of the time. This can be highlighted by this painting by Edouard Monet, Les Déjeuners sur le Herbe, which was painted between 1862 and 1863 and very visibly shows a naked woman, which would have been taboo at the time. That transgressive art has changed over time. We can see there is a transition between the Modernism movement and the Symbolism movement. The Symbolism movement would very much build on the legacy of the Modernism movement and the erotic and sexual art it produced. We will see how this is retained in the art produced by the Symbolism movement, but also how this movement would include mythology and the supernatural into its artwork. This is highlighted by artwork produced by Aubrey Beardsley entitled The Climax in 1894. In the wake of the First World War and Freudian theory, the emergence of Surrealist art, we can see that this art, such as this work by Reine Marguerite in 1934, challenged society to reflect on itself. We can see that this painting hopes to impress on us how men have come to conceptualize women within society. That the next big step in transgressive art's history was the emergence of outsider artists such as Henry Dargo and this painting of a massacre of children. We can see how such a painting inspires shock and horror in many, but it is suggested by Anthony Julius in the book Transgressions, the Offence of Art, that this is done on purpose and with a purpose. Transgressive art does not transgress for the sake of transgressing. That transgressive art does have a purpose, and by estranging us from our reality and challenging our conception of reality, transgressive art hopes by showing a massacre on canvas, we will be more aware of them in the real world. That transgressive art hopes to force us to critically reflect on our world by challenging our conception of reality. We can see this is particularly highlighted by authors such as Ariel Doffman.
Is that art always changes according to where you find yourself and where the artist finds himself or herself in these situations. You express yourself in different ways because people are asking you for different things. But always, always, I think, you are going to tend to make things, to disturb the audience, to make them think, to make them critical, to awake them to their own potentialities and to beauty.
It can be suggested transgressive art has other roles, that transgressive art is not merely a means of critically reflecting on the world we live in. It can be suggested in the modern world man is losing all reason to live, incapable as he has become of rising to the heights of an exceptional situation such as love, and he will hardly succeed. That is because from now on he belongs body and soul to an imperative practical necessity, of which one must never lose sight. We can see the Surrealist Manifesto, written by Andrew Breton in 1924, highlights a world where man is becoming ever more rational, and transgressive art may be the last refuge where man can truly express himself. He suggested that in an ever more rational world, man has less and less places to express himself, that man has become like these robots on an assembly line, where he merely follows practical necessity, where he follows rationality, where he can't express his emotions at all, and he can't express himself in an ever more rational world. It can be suggested transgressive art is a refuge from this world, an escapism, a place where man can express himself. He suggested transgressive art plays a further role. We can see from this painting by Paul Gauguin, painted in 1892, entitled The Spirit of the Dead Watching, which shows an erotic image of a naked woman, that transgressive art plays a further role in enabling us to encode transgressive messages in which we cannot do in the rest of the world. We can see from the work of Freud, Leonardo da Vinci, and Memories of Childhood that artists do encode their desires in their artwork as well as their life experiences. It can be suggested that through art, a person can express their fantasies without having to pursue them in real life. Suggested by Oscar Wilde in his book A Picture of Dorian Gray, that it is the spectator and not life that art really mirrors. It is suggested that art is just art and that transgressive art is just art too, and it is us who give it a sense of morality, the spectator, that the spectator determines, depending on their own tastes, if such an art is an abomination or a masterpiece, and this process is nothing to do with the artist whatsoever. From exhibitions such as Body Worlds, which presents a number of real preserved dead bodies as artwork, first opened to the public in 1995 Tokyo by Dr. Gunther von Hagens, who used a process called plastination to preserve the bodies. It can be suggested that to some this exhibition may be an abomination, or to others, this could be seen as accurate depictions of the human body and a masterpiece. It can be suggested that this artwork pushes the very moral boundaries of the world we live in. See from this work, The Pissed Christ by Andrea Sereno in 1987, how there are consequences to pushing the moral and social boundaries of society. We can see that Andrea Sereno claimed that this was a picture of a crucifix being submerged in his own urine. This upset a great number of people, especially within the Christian community. We can see this led to a copy of his picture being vandalized in Avion in the Modern Arts Museum in 2011. This shows how transgressive art can take something which many hold to be sacred and make it profane, and how this can cause a great deal of offense to a great many people. How transgressive art, such as this piece by Marcel Duchamp in 1917, The Fountain, which shows us a urinal. We can see how this urinal has been taken as something which is profane, but now has become something else, something which many consider to be beautiful, something that many consider to be sacred. We see how transgressive art can take something which is profane and make it sacred and beautiful. To conclude this tour, we have seen that transgressive art does play a number of roles within our world. We have also seen how transgressive art has changed over time, and we have also seen how transgressive art does have a capacity to offend a lot of people. Ultimately, we have seen that transgressive art can be something beautiful to some and something horrific to others. We thank you for listening, and we hope that you have enjoyed the tour.